Asia Hawkins, hands on the hood.
Sorry, what'd you just say to me?
This is Asia Renée Pelletier-Hawkins, a Care.com babysitter with a 4.8-star rating and a CPR certification badge. The family she stole from found her through an app. She stole $35,000 from them before a single Visa line item gave her away.
Cash and the checks and the credit card you've been pulling out of the family you babysat over the last 5 months.
How dare you accuse me of something I would never
3
even...
pre-signed checks made out to yourself across 4
The investigation had started with a single Wednesday afternoon. A 4-figure auto shop invoice for a transmission rebuild on a 2017 Honda Civic the family had never owned. The card the charge hit was a Visa with their 7-year-old son's name printed on the line. A card given to a babysitter for snacks and piano recital tickets. By the time the wife finished scrolling 6 months of statements, the number on the screen was $35,600. The woman in this footage had been verified, rated, certified, and trusted. None of it stopped her. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something. How many strangers have keys, codes, or pre-signed checks inside your house right now? Take a second and actually count. Drop the number in the comments. I'm curious what people land on. And if you're new to this channel, hit subscribe. We cover the cases that the parenting blogs and the babysitter apps never want you to see every single week. Asia Renée Pelletier-Hawkins was born in February of 2000 at DeKalb Medical Center in Decatur, Georgia, the only child of a single mother who worked the overnight shift as a certified nursing assistant at a memory care facility off Lawrenceville Highway. Her father was not listed on the birth certificate. He drifted in and out of her life until she was 11, and then he was simply gone. A name on a Facebook account she would scroll through, occasionally, for the rest of her teenage years. They lived in a 2-bedroom rental on a quiet cul-de-sac in Stone Mountain. Her mother worked 12-hour shifts, 7 on and 7 off, and Asia learned early what it meant to be the person trusted with the keys, the alarm code, and the responsibility of the house. By age 10, she was warming her own dinners. By 12, she was babysitting her 3 younger cousins on Saturday nights, while her aunts worked at a Waffle House in Tucker. She was good at it. The cousins liked her. She remembered which one was allergic to peanuts and which one needed the nightlight left on a specific dim setting. She went to Stone Mountain High School. Her teachers described her in evaluations as warm, conscientious, and well-liked by peers, with a natural ability to de-escalate conflict among younger students. One counselor wrote that she had a future in any field involving children or service. She graduated in 2018 with a 3.4 GPA and a small stack of community service hours she had earned tutoring 3rd graders at the after-school program at Memorial Drive Elementary. She enrolled at Georgia State University on a partial Pell Grant and a stack of subsidized loans, intending to major in early childhood education. She lasted 3 semesters. Her mother's hours got cut. The rent on the Stone Mountain house went up. Asia withdrew in the middle of her sophomore year and took a job as an assistant teacher at a kinder care on Memorial Drive, making $12.50 an hour. She stayed there 14 months. The director's evaluation called her reliable, gentle with the toddlers, and detail-oriented with daily incident logs. The kinder care job ended in March 2021 when the center cut hours during a staffing reshuffle. Asia, then 21, did the math on what she could earn at $12.50 an hour versus what private families paid sitters on the apps. The math was not close. She created her first profile on Care.com, the largest babysitter and caregiver platform in the country, in April of that year. She uploaded a photo of herself in a yellow sundress on the front porch of her mother's house, listed her experience at kinder care, her certifications, her age, and her rate. She asked for $18 an hour. The first family booked her within 9 days. For 3 years, she was, by every external measure, exactly what the platform advertised. She accumulated 31 family reviews. Her star rating never dipped below 4.8. Families wrote that she was prompt, professional, and our kids ask when she's coming back. She passed the platform's standard background check, a multi-state criminal record search through a vendor called Sterling, without a single flag. She uploaded her American Red Cross CPR and first aid certification cards, which earned her a verified blue badge that appeared next to her profile name. She paid for the premium subscription tier so her profile would appear higher in search results in the Atlanta metro area. She was, in other words, the kind of caregiver the platform was built to surface. The kind of profile a tired parent on a hospital call schedule would screenshot and forward to their spouse with the caption, "This one looks great." In January 2024, a North Atlanta family did exactly that. Care.com is the largest online caregiver marketplace in the United States. The company connects families with babysitters, nannies, pet sitters, senior caregivers, and housekeepers. Its database contains millions of registered caregiver profiles. In any given month, it processes hundreds of thousands of bookings through a payment arm called CarePay. The platform's value proposition, repeated in every commercial and every parenting blog testimonial, is the same: convenience, transparency, and trust. The trust is engineered through a stack of layered signals. Every caregiver fills out a profile with photos, hourly rate, availability, and a self-written bio. Above that sits the rating system, a 5-star scale where families rate caregivers after each booking, and where the average and review count appear at the top of the profile. Above that sit the certification badges: CPR, first aid, infant care, special needs. And above all of it sits the background check, which the platform markets as the foundation of the entire system. Here is what that background check actually is. The platform contracts with a third-party screening vendor, in Renée Pelletier-Hawkins' case, Sterling, to run a multi-jurisdictional criminal records database search and a sex offender registry check against the caregiver's name and date of birth. It does not run a credit check. It does not contact previous employers. It does not pull civil court records. It does not check for prior fraud complaints filed with consumer protection agencies. It does not verify income, residency, vehicle ownership, or anything else that would suggest financial stress. If the caregiver has no criminal conviction in the databases the vendor searches, the check returns clean. A clean check earns a check mark on the profile. A clean check tells a family one thing only: the person they are about to hand their children to has not yet been criminally convicted of something a database happened to record. It does not tell them anything about who that person is going to be inside their house. The family in North Atlanta, a husband and wife, both physicians, both in their late 30s, did not know any of this in granular detail. They knew what the parenting blogs told them. They knew what their pediatric attending colleague recommended. They knew that their previous sitter, a retired elementary school teacher named Margaret, who had been with them for 6 years, had reached an age where she could no longer keep up with their 7-year-old's soccer schedule. They needed someone new. They opened the app. They filtered by certifications, by experience with multiple children, by availability for weekend overnights. 3 profiles came up at the top of their screen. Asia's was the second one. They scrolled through her reviews, 31 of them, an average of 4.8, families using words like calm, trustworthy. Our daughter cried when she left. They messaged her on a Sunday evening. She replied within 4 minutes. They scheduled a meet and greet for the following Saturday. The meet and greet went exactly the way the parenting blogs predicted. Asia arrived at the family's home in Brookhaven on a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock in a clean white sweater and dark jeans, with a small folder containing her CPR card, a copy of her driver's license, and 3 personal references printed on a single sheet. She sat on the kitchen island stool. She made eye contact with the 7-year-old son and asked him about his favorite Lego set. She let the 4-year-old daughter braid her hair while the parents asked her questions. Both parents said afterward, separately, that she felt like Margaret had felt 6 years earlier. The hire was confirmed that evening through the care.com messaging system. The rate was $22 an hour for 3 afternoons a week, 3 to 7 p.m., with the option of weekend overnight coverage as the call schedule demanded. 2 months in, when the wife's surgical rotation block shifted, the overnight coverage became routine. Asia was now inside the house, alone with the children, between 40 and 60 hours a month. The family had 2 specific household trust accommodations they used with all caregivers. They had used them with Margaret for 6 years without a single incident. The first was a manila envelope on the kitchen counter labeled Babysitter in black Sharpie. Inside it sat 3 blank checks, pre-signed by the wife in case of emergency, an urgent care visit, a last-minute soccer camp deposit, a dentist copay. The second was a Visa credit card kept in the same drawer as the dog leash, with the 7-year-old son's name printed on the card line. The wife explained the card to Asia during the 2nd week of her employment, leaning against the kitchen island while pulling on her hospital ID lanyard. This is for the kids' activities. Snacks if you take them somewhere after school. Pizza if we're stuck at the hospital. Don't worry about asking. Asia thanked her and put the card back in the drawer. She did not use it for 2 weeks. The first charge appeared on a Thursday afternoon in early March 2024. It was a DoorDash order, $28.40 from a Chipotle in Buckhead, delivered to the family's home while she was on shift with the children. It looked exactly like what the card was for. The second charge appeared the following Tuesday. A Sephora purchase, $64, also during shift hours. She had explained it to herself, by then, as a small thank you. The family was generous. They had told her not to worry about asking. By the end of March, the charges were no longer happening during shifts. They were happening at her apartment in DeKalb County on her off days. They were no longer disguised as kids' activities. They were Spotify premium upgrades to her own Apple ID. They were 2 cell phone plan add-on lines she activated through her carrier with the family's card on file. They were Ulta runs in the afternoon while the children were at school. They were DoorDash orders delivered to her 1-bedroom apartment 4 times a week, every week, totaling almost $3,000 by the end of the summer. The pre-signed checks were a separate stream. She did not touch the envelope until April. The first check she pulled was made out for $4,200 in her own handwriting on the payee line, deposited via mobile remote into her own Wells Fargo account on a Sunday evening. The check cleared on Tuesday. Nobody noticed. The second check, in late May, was for $5,800. The third, in early July, was for $6,400. Between checks, she pulled cash from the dresser drawer where the family kept rotating bills for the cleaner and the dog walker. $3,000 over 4 months. 20s, 50s, the occasional 100. She replaced the rubber band each time exactly the way she found it. The family did not detect any of it in real time. the visa statements went only to the husband's hospital email. He batch reviewed them quarterly during the slow weeks between his call rotations. The babysitter knew this because the wife had mentioned it casually during the hire conversation, the same way she had mentioned the manila envelope and the dog walker's cash. The architecture of trust the family had built with Margaret over 6 years was extended in a single conversation to a stranger with a 4.8 star rating. On the afternoon of Wednesday, July 17th, 2024, Renée Pelletier-Hawkins was not on shift. The 7-year-old son was at a piano lesson in Sandy Springs with a different sitter the family used as a backup. The 4-year-old daughter was at summer camp at the Marcus Jewish Community Center. The parents were both at Emory University Hospital, the husband in a thoracic case that ran 9 hours and the wife in clinic. Asia drove her 2017 Honda Civic to a Goodyear-affiliated transmission shop on Buford Highway. The car had been making a grinding noise for 6 weeks. The estimate the shop had given her 2 weekends earlier was $3,400 for a full rebuild. More than she had in her account, more than her credit limit on her own card would allow, more than her roommate could spot her even on a generous month. She handed the service writer the family's visa. The charge went through. She drove home in a loaner. She picked up the Civic 4 days later, and that afternoon she drove to a furniture warehouse in Lithonia and bought a $1,400 sectional couch on the same card, scheduled for delivery to her DeKalb County apartment the following Tuesday. The delivery was the only step in the operation she did not control. The driver pulled up to her apartment building at 1:15 in the afternoon on Tuesday, July 23rd, a day she was supposed to be on shift in Brookhaven. She had told the family she had a doctor's appointment that ran long. She took the children to the JCC pool an hour late. The driver scanned her ID, handed her the delivery confirmation, and left. What she did not know, and what would matter more than every other charge combined, was that the Ring doorbell on the front porch of the Brookhaven house, the one with the small black motion-activated camera the husband had installed in 2022, had captured her leaving on that Tuesday afternoon at 12:40 p.m. with a printed receipt in her hand. The clip sat in the family's cloud storage, unwatched, for 6 more days. She finished the rest of July working her normal schedule. She picked up the kids. She made spaghetti. She returned the visa to the drawer every evening. She replaced the rubber band on the dresser cache. She had no reason to believe anything would change. On the morning of Saturday, July 27th, the wife, Dr. Sarah Lynn, a pediatric cardiologist at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, sat down at her kitchen island with a cup of coffee and her laptop. She was 3 weeks late on a mid-year tax categorization that her accountant had been asking for. Half of the household's child care expenses ran through the family's health savings account and required line-by-line documentation. She pulled up the visa statement for May. It took 10 minutes. She scrolled through April 1st. Most of the charges looked normal. DoorDash, Trader Joe's, a Target run, then a line item, 14 lines down. Goodyear Trans Buford HWY, $3,400.00. She read it twice. She did not own a Goodyear-affiliated vehicle. She had never been to that address. She scrolled up. She scrolled down. She found a Sephora charge from a Wednesday afternoon when she remembered, distinctly, that Asia had not been on shift. The 4-year-old had been at the dentist with her instead. She walked into the home office where her husband was reading a journal article. She put the laptop in front of him. She said, "I need you to look at this." They reviewed 6 months of statements together that afternoon. The pattern was not subtle once they were looking for it. Sephora during school hours, Ulta on her off days, DoorDash deliveries to addresses they did not recognize, Apple Music, T-Mobile add-on lines, a $1,400 charge from a furniture warehouse in Lithonia, $16,200 across 5 months on a card they had given a sitter for snacks. The wife pulled up their personal Wells Fargo checking account. She filtered for cleared checks. 3 blank checks she did not recognize, signed in her own handwriting on the signature line, with Asia's name written on the payee line. $4,200, $5,800, $6,400, $16,400 in checks alone. She pulled up the Ring app. She scrolled 6 months of recordings. She found the Tuesday delivery clip at 12:40 p.m. She watched her babysitter, the one who was supposed to be at a doctor's appointment, walk out the front door of her house with a folded piece of paper in her hand. The husband called the credit card company that evening at 6:15. He froze the card. He requested a fraud investigation. The card company's representative, after pulling the transaction records, asked him a single question. "Sir, do you currently have a household employee with access to this card?" He said yes. She said, "You'll want to file a police report tonight." The report was filed online with the DeKalb County Police Department at 8:42 p.m. on July 28, 2024. The detective assigned, a 4-year veteran of the Financial Crimes Unit named Marcus Hurd, called the family back the next morning. By Wednesday, he had a subpoena for the Visa transaction logs. By Friday, he had the canceled checks from Wells Fargo with Asia's endorsement on the back of each one. By the following Monday, he had Ring footage, GPS data from the Goodyear shop tying the Civic VIN to her name on the work order, and a delivery confirmation from the Lithonia furniture warehouse with her signature. The text messages came last. The detective subpoenaed the Care.com platform's messaging history. The exchanges with the family were polite and professional throughout. The exchanges with her roommate on a separate device were not. Asia, April 18, 2024. "Girl, I'm telling you, these people don't even look at the card. I could buy a whole car. Don't be dumb." Asia, May 22, 2024. "The husband checks the statements like every 3 months, he literally told me." Asia, July 16, 2024. "Transmission tomorrow, praying. It's the only way I get to work next month. On whose card? Don't worry about it. Quick check-in." If you've made it this far into the video, this is the kind of case that doesn't get the airtime it deserves. The mainstream parenting outlets won't touch domestic trust fraud the way it actually plays out because it makes the apps they take ad money from look bad. If you want to see more of these cases broken down honestly, hit subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell. New case every week. Let's keep going. The arrest happened on Wednesday, August 14, 2024, at 3:52 in the afternoon, in the parking lot of a Publix on North Druid Hills Road in Decatur. Detective Hurd and 2 uniformed officers had been waiting at the entrance for 9 minutes. Asia had just finished a grocery run and was loading 2 paper bags into the trunk of the 2017 Honda Civic when the detective approached. The body cam picked her up from 20 feet out. She was in a black tank top and jean shorts. Her braids were pulled into a bun. She closed the trunk and turned. She saw the detective. She saw the badge on his belt. Her right hand went to her phone in her back pocket. "Renée Pelletier-Hawkins?" "Yes, what is this?" "Ma'am, I am Detective Hurd with the DeKalb County Police Department. I have a warrant for your arrest. I need you to step away from the vehicle and put your hands on top of the car." "A warrant for what?" "Financial transaction card fraud, forgery in the 2nd degree, theft by taking, identity fraud, step away from the vehicle, please. I don't understand. There's a mistake. I work for the Lynn family. I'm their sitter. Whatever they told you, I can explain. I would never do anything like that. Their kids love me. Ma'am, hands on the car. Can I call them? Can I call Dr. Lynn right now? She'll tell you this isn't right. Dr. Lynn is the complainant. Hands on the car. She put her hands on the car. The detective walked her through the rights advisement on the rear panel of the Civic. She did not cry. She did not say anything else. The handcuffs went on at 3:55. The 2 paper grocery bags sat in the trunk. Milk, frozen pizza, a bottle of Moscato, a bag of frozen mango. As the detective drove her in, the bags were inventoried by responding officers and turned over to her roommate that evening. The interview at the DeKalb County Police Department headquarters lasted 19 minutes. She invoked her right to an attorney at the 4-minute mark. She did not speak again. Her booking photograph, a thin young woman in a black tank top, braids pulled back, no expression on her face, was uploaded to the DeKalb County Sheriff's inmate database at 6:12 p.m. that evening. Care.com suspended her caregiver profile within 48 hours. The indictment came down from the DeKalb County grand jury 2 weeks later. The charges were stacked: financial transaction card fraud under Georgia O.C.G.A., Section 16-9 to the 31, a felony covering each of the unauthorized visa transactions. Forgery in the second degree under Section 16-922, covering the 3 endorsed checks. Theft by taking under Section 16-8-2, covering the cash extracted from the dresser drawer, and identity fraud under Section 16-9-121, covering the Apple ID enrollment and the cell phone plan add-on lines that ran her own personal credentials against the family's account. She was assigned a court-appointed attorney, a public defender named Renée Cole. Cole reviewed the evidence file in early September and called her client into the office for a conversation that lasted 45 minutes. The evidence was, in Cole's words to a colleague afterward, about as airtight as financial crime files get. Endorsed checks with the defendant's handwriting, ring footage, GPS data, a signed delivery receipt, a subpoenaed text exchange where the defendant explicitly described the family's quarterly statement review cadence as the basis for her timing. The plea offer came in late November. Cole walked her client through it in early December. The state was offering a consolidated plea: guilty on 3 of the 4 felony counts, dismissal of the identity fraud count, a 5-year sentence with the first 18 months active, and the remainder on supervised probation, restitution of $35,600, and a permanent ban from any Georgia occupational licensure role involving fiduciary domestic trust, child care, elder care, in-home care of any kind, anywhere in the state, for life. Asia signed the plea agreement on January 22, 2025. The sentencing hearing was held on March 14, 2025, in DeKalb County Superior Court before Judge Carla Bynum. The courtroom was small and beige. The Lynn family attended together. The husband sat in the second row. The wife sat next to him. Their 2 children were not present. Dr. Sarah Lynn read the victim impact statement at 10:42 a.m. My daughter is 4 years old. My son is 7. They loved this woman. My son still asks me, almost every week, when Asia is coming back. I have not figured out how to answer him. I have told him that she had to move away. That is the lie I am raising my children inside of, because the truth is that the woman they trusted with their bedtime, their lunches, their homework, their tears, that woman was inside our house stealing from them. Not from us. From them. She put a transmission rebuild for a car my children have never seen on a Visa that had my son's name on it. The card was supposed to buy them pizza. Every dollar she took out of an account my husband and I had earmarked for college, for braces, for soccer camp. We will recover from the money. My children will not recover from learning what they learned this summer about who you can and cannot trust. That is the part she does not have to pay back, and the part I am asking you to consider when you sentence her today. Judge Bynum delivered her sentencing statement at 11:06 a.m. The transcript was unsealed 2 months later. Miss Pelletier-Hawkins, what makes this case difficult to listen to is not the dollar amount. The dollar amount is significant, but I have heard significantly higher in this courtroom. What makes this case difficult is that the people you stole from did not just trust you with their money. They trusted you with their children. They handed you a credit card that had a child's name printed on the line, and they did so because they believed. And the platform they hired you through encouraged them to believe that the trust they had built across 6 years with a previous caregiver could be extended across one conversation to you. You did not just commit financial transaction card fraud. You committed it inside the home of 2 physicians on call schedules, trying to take care of sick patients while raising 2 small children. You committed it on Wednesday afternoons when their daughter was at piano lessons, believing the woman who was supposed to be picking her up was on her way. You committed it deliberately. You committed it for 5 months. And you committed it because you understood exactly how the household's trust architecture worked, and you exploited every layer of it. The sentence imposed today is the sentence the plea agreement contemplates, and I impose it without modification. 5 years state custody, 18 months active at Pulaski State Prison, the remainder on supervised probation. Restitution $35,600. Permanent revocation of your eligibility for any Georgia caregiver licensure role. The defendant is remanded. She was transported from the courthouse to the Lee Arundel State Prison Intake Unit in Alto, Georgia, on the afternoon of March 14th, and from there to Pulaski State Prison in Hawkinsville on March 18th. Pulaski is a medium security state facility in Pulaski County, 213 miles south of Brookhaven. It houses approximately 1,200 women. Asia was assigned to Dormitory 3, Bed 44. She was issued a state inmate identification number, a tan jumpsuit, a hygiene kit, and a job assignment in the laundry. Her projected release date, with credit for good behavior on the active portion of her sentence, is September of 2026. The Lynn family did not hire a replacement sitter through care.com. They hired Margaret's daughter, a 31-year-old elementary school music teacher named Hannah, who lives 4 blocks away and accepts cash on Fridays. The manila envelope on the kitchen counter is gone. The Visa, with the 7-year-old son's name on the line, was canceled the night of July 27th and was not replaced. The dresser drawer no longer holds cash. The Ring doorbell is still recording. Care.com refunded the family $4,200 in scheduled but not yet disbursed weekly pay that had not cleared at the time of suspension. The platform did not separately compensate the family for the $16,200 in Visa charges, or the $16,400 in checks, or the $3,000 in cash from the dresser drawer. The platform's terms of service language, which the family had agreed to in February of 2024 with a single checkbox click during onboarding, explicitly excluded off-platform losses from any reimbursement coverage. The family's restitution from the criminal case is being paid back to them in monthly installments deducted from Asia's prison commissary earnings and, eventually, from the wages of whatever job she is permitted to hold after release. At the current pace, the $35,600 will be paid in full sometime in the year 2048. The Lynn children will be in their early 30s. The Care.com profile that had earned 31 five-star reviews and a 4.8 rating across 3 years was deactivated on the morning of July 30th, 2024. The page now returns a generic error message, the verified blue checkmark, the CPR certification badge, the past background check from Sterling. None of it is visible to anyone anymore. None of it was ever visible in the way the family thought it was. That case was disturbing in a way that creeps up on you slowly. But the case on the right-hand side of your screen right now is even worse. Click it and see for yourself.